Welcome back, everyone. Today we're talking with Dr. Russell Blaylock about excitotoxins and brain health. This information is so important. We're talking about his book, Health and Nutrition Secrets that could save your life, and they really can. I've got to tell you guys, this book is so important. Everybody needs to have a copy of it. And I know a lot of you have probably watched previous shows and you got a copy of the book, but today we are going to do something special so that you can get another copy. Today's a good time to get this copy for someone you love, give it to your doctor, get it in the hands of people who need it. Recently, we've talked all about antioxidants, and we recently brought to the BioInnovations family the acai berry, which is so important. It is the world's foremost antioxidant food. Now we have that and we have the noni. We're going to get into a little bit later about why these antioxidants are so important. But what we want to do for you is with your case of what we're calling our multi-pack, and that's the case of 2 organic noni and 2 organic acai, we're going to give you Dr. Blaylock's book, Health and Nutrition Secrets that can save your life. So get in on that today.
Did you say free?
The book is free with the case of the multi-pack. Richard, everyone needs this book.
Good.
This needs to be one of the staples in every household.
Absolutely.
That you just go to for reference.
I love it.
And I know, Dr. Blaylock, this book is really big. You can tell it's written by a doctor. Look at all that.
Yeah,
but you know what?
Well,
it's easy to read.
It is.
I could understand it. You made it. This is one of the things I think that is unusual and a talent that you hardly ever see, and that's somebody that has your knowledge that can put it into language I can understand.
Yes.
And I think that is probably one of the biggest take-homes about this is I get this book.
Yes.
So many of our people that have purchased the book and read it, they call us all the time and tell us that. Thank you so much. Tell Dr. Blaylock thank you. And I don't think Richard and I get the chance to tell you thank you enough for doing this work. Because I know this had to be a huge labor of love. Anyway, enough on that one. So be sure you get your special today. We were talking about sugar and inflammation and the effect on the brain. I was thinking, but wait a minute. If I'm not diabetic, then can't I drink a soda? Then the sugar isn't really going to hurt me, especially one a day.
Yeah, that's just for diabetics, that brain problem, right?
Well, not really.
Not really.
And what we're looking at, for instance, even in cancer research, people who consume the greatest amount of sugar have the highest incidence of cancer.
Is that right?
And it can be quite dramatic. It's something like a 200% increase at the more sugar that you consume. And the same thing with neurodegenerative brain disorders. People who consume more sugar have more neurodegenerative brain disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And we know why. It's not a big secret. We know that, in fact, that increases free radical generation in all the cells of the body, particularly the brain because of its high metabolism. We know it's producing these AGE complexes, which also dramatically increase free radical generation, trigger inflammation in the brain and in the body, which is highly destructive, again connected to cancer, degenerative brain disorders, and cardiovascular disease. So all the major diseases, the major killers, the major cripplers in human health are related to high sugar intake.
Yeah.
So if you're drinking that one, well, that does some damage if you're drinking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or a 6-pack of cola.
And many people do.
And many people do.
Yeah.
What they've shown is in fact the greatest increase in drinking sugar drinks is in people over age 50.
Yes.
They're consuming more than even the teenagers. Their increase is increased greater than the teenagers. So when I go out and I look at restaurants and I see people eating and buying things in stores, I see a lot of elderly people buying Coca-Colas and
I thought it would be coffee and tea that people 50 and up would drink more of.
I want to ask you that. Now, we all like to have a little boost in the day, you know, the soda for a little sugar lift and caffeine, you know. And we saw in the news recently that the tea consumption and coffee lowers risk of stroke, dementia, this type of thing. So what would you recommend to somebody? I've got a 3 soda a day habit going. How do I transition off of that? What can we replace that with?
Well, usually what you find is if you get off of the colas completely and just start drinking purified water, filtered water, distilled water, you lose your taste for it.
Yes.
If you try to go back, it's just like drinking heavy syrup.
It is.
You can't stand it. So that helps you get off of it. The other thing is switch to things. If you want something other than just water, you can have a cup of coffee or a couple of cups a day. You can have white tea.
Yeah.
which has the highest antioxidant
white
level.
tea.
It
good.
helps
Very
prevent
tasty.
cardiovascular disease. It protects the brain. So it has numerous benefits. It contains chemicals that are powerful anti-cancer agents, inhibit the growth of cancer. So by switching to things that are just as tasty,
And you can control the sugar content. You know, you can put a little bit of sugar in there, it's not as bad,
Okay.
right?
right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we get off the sugar subject, there's one more thing I know everyone out there is thinking. Well, if I'm not going to drink my soda, I can have the diet soda, right?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Because there's no
It's
sugar in it. And you were talking all about sugar, so therefore I can have diet soda, right?
You pushed
Well,
his button.
That's
Look out.
That's sort of the old adage of jumping out of the pan into the fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're going from in the pan where it's pretty hot and doing a lot of damage into the actual fire itself. And that's the aspartame, the Splenda. Now, what we know from these agents, particularly the aspartame, there's significant research now that show that it is a major cause of certain cancers like breast cancer, lymphoma, leukemias,
Oh, my goodness.
brain cancers. So we've got some links to some very bad diseases, and we know why. Because aspartame is broken down into formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is a known powerful carcinogen. It attaches to DNA, breaks the DNA, and that leads to these diseases. It also increases your risk of degenerative brain disorders because it breaks the DNA of the brain cells. So this is a very bad substance. And we have enough research now to know that it produces depression, it produces cancer, it may increase suicides. So this is not a good choice.
Yeah.
Now the Splenda is a chlorinated glucose. When you add a halogen, which is a very reactive element, to glucose, it becomes carcinogenic. It damages cells. It increases free radical generation. So by adding the artificial sweeteners, you're directly damaging yourself with some very powerful toxins, plus you're not getting rid of your sugar cravings.
Well, Dr. Blaylock, then if somebody has a seemingly healthy diet where they really do eat whole grains and the organic meats and the exercise, and yet they die of cancer at an early age, maybe part of that could be because they have that 2 diet sodas a day habit?
Oh, absolutely.
So it really could affect someone to that level?
Right. If you have DNA fragility, that is, your DNA is very fragile, or you're born with an inability to repair your DNA.
Okay.
You know, we have certain enzymes that help fix DNA if it's damaged. Some people don't have the enzymes in sufficient quantity to fix that DNA. That's what happens to women with breast cancer, the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 defect. That's a DNA repair molecule. So if they're born with mutated genes, they can't fix their DNA. Now, if you expose that woman to just small amounts of aspartame or small amounts of another carcinogen, she's more likely to get it even if she follows otherwise a healthy lifestyle. Now, the healthy lifestyle helps reduce her risk considerably, but it's sort of like having a sink that's overflowing, and instead of shutting off the water, you just keep calling for more mops.
Right.
You've got to turn the water off.
Yeah, right. You know, this is just incredulous. Somebody, in my history studies, somebody once said, referring to propaganda, people will believe a big lie before they believe a little lie. And my thoughts are, how in the world did we get to this point in time where people accept these food additives, the MSG, the aspartame, all the sugar, the fructose, all this stuff in our dietary chain here, and it's just eating us up. Our cancer rates are higher than they've ever been. We have more heart disease than ever. People have degenerative diseases, but it doesn't have to be that way. When we return, we'll have the antidote. We'll be right back.